morning, boys and girls. How are you today? You good? Yay! Today is Tuesday. So on Tuesday, we're going to learn about social studies, right? And you will listen the story. Before you start, you may pray first and then listen carefully for the story on your social studies. You may get your green book RR12. Open page number 27. Listen carefully for the story. The title of the story is The Bright Light and Mr. Soul. The Bright Light and Mr. Soul. Book of Acts, chapter 9, verse 1 to 22. Peter Patter, splish splash. Raindrops were falling. Raindrops were falling on the green grass. Pitter patter, splish splash. Raindrops were falling. Raindrops were dropping and sliding over lumpy, bumpy rocks. It was fun to watch the raindrops. Yet no one was watching the raindrops. Everyone was very busy. Everyone was busy talking. Everyone was talking about Mr. Soul. Mr. Soul does not love Jesus, said a young man to a farmer as they stood in the busy road. Mr. Soul does not want anyone to love Jesus. A grandfather and grandmother talk about Mr. Soul as they at their supper. Mr. Soul throws people who love Jesus into cold, dark jails, said grandfathers. Far away, a man was walking down a bumpy, dusty road. This man did not talk about Mr. Soul. This man frowned. He did not smile. This man was Mr. Soul himself. I must find more people who love Jesus, shouted Mr. Soul to his helpers. I will throw them all into jail. Mr. Soul began to walk faster and faster down the bumpy, dusty road. Trumpety trom, trumpety trom. Mr. Soul's helpers marched behind him. They were marching as fast as they could march. Suddenly, flash! A big bright light shone on the bumpy, dusty road. The light shone right on Mr. Soul. The light shone right in Mr. Soul's eyes. Mr. Soul stopped. He stopped right in the middle of the bumpy, dusty road. The light was so bright that Mr. Soul had to shut his eyes. The light was brighter than the sun. Mr. Soul was frightened. He fell down. Mr. Soul fell down on the bumpy, dusty road. Mr. Soul, said the loud voice. That's the helper? No, that's the voice, the big voice, the loud voice. Mr. Soul, Mr. Soul, why are you so mean to me? Mr. Soul began to shake. The voice was coming from heaven. Who are you? Cried Mr. Soul. Mr. Soul kept his eyes tightly closed. I am Jesus, said the loud voice. I am the one whom you do not like at all. Mr. Soul gasped. Why Jesus must be God's own son? Mr. Soul trembled. He wished that he had never put anyone in jail. What do you want me to do? Asked scared Mr. Sole as loudly as he dared. Mr. Sole waited for an answer. He shut his eyes even tighter. The light was still very, very bright. Go to the next city, said Jesus. There you will find out exactly what to do. And the light disappeared. Mr. Sole stood up. He opened his eyes. I cannot see, cried Mr. Sole. I cannot see anything. Mr. Sole's helper walked up to Mr. Sole. They took Mr. Sole's trembling, shaking hand. We will help you walk to the next city, said the helpers. We won't let you bump into anything. Trumpety, trumpety, the helpers walked slowly. They led Mr. Sole around bumps and bushes. The helpers led Mr. Sole around puddles and rocks. Finally, Mr. Sole and the helpers came to the next city. There in the next city, something very special happened. God sent a man to teach Mr. Sole was the soul about Jesus. God sent a man to teach Mr. Sole more about Jesus. Then God made Mr. Sole to see again. Mr. Sole was changed. Mr. Sole was not mean anymore. Mr. Sole loved Jesus. Mr. Sole wanted everyone else to love Jesus too. Grandfathers and grandmothers, uncles and aunts, and boys and girls were excited. Everyone was talking about Mr. Sole again. Mr. Sole loved Jesus now, said a mother, and she swept the floor. Mr. Sole will not hurt us, exclaimed a grandfather as he opened his front door. Mr. Sole loved Jesus, cried a little girl as she rocked her tiny brother. Mr. Sole wants other people to love Jesus too. The tiny brother did not understand. He was too small. The tiny brother just waved his hands and giggled. Somehow, even the tiny brother knew that it was a very, very happy day. There's the end of the story. Now you may ask your mom or your daddy to read the question to you. If you can answer it, I will give you a star. Now you may open page number 30. Listen carefully. We learned that we have so many helpers. We have helpers in our families. Daddy and Mama are good family helpers. We have helpers at church and school. We have helpers in our neighborhood. Firemen, policemen, and mechanics are some of our neighborhood helpers. We learn many important things about ourselves too. We learn about praying every day and learning scripture verses. With your green crayon, draw a line from A's happy face to the helpers at home, Daddy and Mama. With your black crayon, draw a line from A's to someone who is a good helper at church. Who is a good helper at church? Pastor. With your orange crayon, draw a line from A's to someone who is good helpers at school. At school is the monitor. With your blue crayon, draw a line from A's to someone who is a good helper in our neighborhood. In our neighborhood, policeman. Yay! With your purple crayon, if you don't have purple, you may use your red crayon. Draw a line from Ace to something Ace learned he should do every day. What Ace should do every day? Yay, pray, good. Now, if you finish, you may open the next page, page number 31. Listen carefully for the story on page number 31. So this is our last page of our green book. Do you remember how different things are in the faraway countries? Some countries are hot and some countries are cold. Many different kinds of fruits grow in faraway countries. Houses in faraway countries might be made differently too. We are thankful for missionaries who go to faraway countries to tell people about God. In row 1, with your pencil, circle the closest from someone who lives where it is cold. In row 2, circle the fruit trees. In row 3, circle the house that might be in a faraway country where it is very hot. In row 4, circle the book the missionary takes to tell the people about God. If you finish, you may give it to your mom or your daddy. Ask your mom or daddy to sign it to you. Take a picture and send it to the group. You may get your blue book RR12. You may open page number 13. This is our last page. Listen carefully. We learned that God created everything with nothing in His hands. God created the whole world in 6 days. God made our weather. God made morning, daytime, and nighttime. Last of all, God created man. God created man on day 6. We learned that the bodies of God gave us can do many wonderful things. Our bodies can see, touch, taste, hear, and smell. These are called the five senses. To keep our bodies healthy, we need to eat something from the four food. From the 4 food groups every day. To keep our body safe, we learn 3 rules, right? We learn 3 rules to cross the streets. To cross the streets safely. Stop, look, and listen. Place your finger on the circle and say the number word that will complete the sentence. With your finger, place your fingers here, and then with your pencil, draw a line from the circle to the correct number. This is man. Day 6, right? This is the 5 senses. This is the 4 food groups, and this one, the 3 rules to cross the street, right? Now you may use your pencil, draw a line from the circle to the correct number. If you finish, you may give it to your mom or your daddy. Ask your mom or daddy to sign it to you. Take a picture and send it to the group.